We rise, shoulders squared, hearts cloaked in dignity. We will not lay our tender truths in careless hands. Beneath laughter, oceans stir. Behind grace, weariness whispers. We do not confess our quiet breaking, for the world feasts on weakness, but still we bloom, unbroken, in the morning light. It is a truth often unseen, for the world measures them by the light they give, not the tempests they survive. Beneath the gentle curve of a smile may live whole nights of restlessness, moments of silent weeping, and 1,000 unspoken fears. They learn early that life does not pause for their storms. The rent must still be paid, the children still need feeding, the deadlines still loom, and the responsibilities they carry, visible and invisible, still demand their strength. So they master the art of composure. They become both the calm and the chaos, the healer and the one in need of healing. The sunshine they wear is not always born of joy. Sometimes it is stitched together from fragments of hope, from the knowledge that if they allow the storm to be seen, they risk being misunderstood, pitied, or dismissed. Many women have been told that tears are weakness, that vulnerability invites exploitation, and that no one respects a woman who falls apart. So they learn to build their walls from laughter, to paint over pain with kindness, to make beauty bloom in the cracks of their own breaking. Carrying a storm inside is a weight that reshapes a woman's soul. It makes her alert to the moods of others, sensitive to the tremors of conflict, and skilled in hiding her own turmoil so as not to burden those she loves. She becomes the protector, shielding friends, family, and even strangers from the sharp winds of her pain. This selflessness is noble, but it comes at a cost. To carry the storm without releasing it is to live with a constant hum of thunder in the bones, a tension that never fully eases. There is a quiet strength in this balancing act. To stand before the world smiling with eyes that have cried rivers is to declare silently, "I will not be broken before you." It is not always pride. Sometimes it is survival. For in certain spaces, showing the storm would mean losing opportunities, respect, or safety. Women have learned to measure when and where they can reveal themselves, if at all. The sunshine becomes their armor, warm, inviting, disarming, allowing them to move through a world that might not show mercy to those visibly weathered by life. Yet, this duality is not all burden. The storms make them deep. They teach empathy, understanding, and resilience. A woman who has fought her way through darkness can recognize the flicker of despair in another's eyes and offer light without asking for anything in return. She can stand in the middle of her own tempest and still extend her hand to someone else's sinking ship. The sunshine she wears becomes more than a mask. It becomes a gift she offers freely to those who have forgotten the warmth of hope. And still, the storms remain. Sometimes they are quiet and slow, a drizzle of sadness that lingers for days. Other times, they rage with lightning and wind, demanding release. But even then, many women will meet the world with grace. They will tuck the storm into the corners of their soul, speak softly when they wish to scream, and pour themselves into their work, their art, their families, anything that keeps the clouds from spilling over in public view. This ability to carry contradiction, to be both radiant and burdened, strong and weary, creates a depth of spirit that cannot be easily defined. It is why so many women seem to glow even when life has been unkind to them. The glow is not always joy. Sometimes it is the reflection of the battles they have fought and the storms they have endured. It is the light of a soul that has refused to be extinguished, no matter how fierce the winds. The truth is, the sunshine is not a lie. It is a choice A woman can be drowning inside and still choose to illuminate the space she enters, still choose to comfort others, still choose to create beauty in the middle of chaos. That choice does not erase the storm. It simply proves that she will not allow it to define her. She carries her storms not as proof of weakness, but as evidence of her unyielding strength. Some may never know the storms she holds. They will see her laugh, work, love, and nurture without realizing how much effort it takes to keep the lightning from striking through her voice. But whether anyone notices or not, the storms are there, and so is the sunshine. The two are inseparable, for one shapes the other. The winds within make the warmth on her face all the more precious, all the more sacred. It is a truth that lives in the unspoken spaces between smiles and steady hands. People see the firmness in a woman's step, the certainty in her voice, the way she handles storms without flinching, and they believe she needs nothing, certainly not softness. They assume her strength is an impenetrable wall rather than a carefully constructed shield. But behind that shield, there is often a longing that whispers, "Hold me, see me, let me be small for once." The world teaches the strong to become unyielding. They are applauded for being dependable, for keeping their composure, for carrying what others cannot. And with each praise for resilience, they learn to bury their need for comfort a little deeper. They stop asking for help because too many times their requests have been met with surprise, dismissal, or even mockery. You, needing help, you're the strong one. So they carry it all themselves, wearing capability like armor. Yet strength does not erase humanity. No matter how competent, a person still craves the simple human touch of compassion. The ache for tenderness is not weakness. It is the desire to rest without fear of judgment, to lean without worrying the other will step away. Strength may endure without it, but it is tenderness that allows the soul to breathe. For many women, the quiet ache comes from years of being the one who holds others together. They are the friend who listens without tiring, the daughter who takes on responsibilities before she is asked, the partner who keeps the home and heart running when everything else falls apart. People turn to them because they are steady. But steady does not mean unbreakable. Steady does not mean they never wish to be cared for in return. There are moments when they wish someone would notice the exhaustion behind their eyes, the way their shoulders tighten under invisible weights. They wish for hands, not to push them forward, but to gently pull them close. They dream of words spoken softly, not as instructions or requests, but as affirmations that they too are deserving of rest, that they too can put the armor down without fear of losing respect. The ache for tenderness is often hidden because the strong have learned that the world can mistake vulnerability for fragility. They do not want pity. They do not want to be underestimated. So they tuck their longing away, revealing it only in rare moments to the people they trust completely, if such people exist in their lives at all. Some carry this ache silently for years, never finding a safe place to let it spill out. But when tenderness does find them, when someone offers it freely without asking them to first prove their worth, it is like rain on parched earth. It does not diminish their strength. It nourishes it. It reminds them that they are not machines built only to produce, protect, and provide. They are human, with hearts that beat not just for survival, but for connection. Tenderness is not always grand or dramatic. Sometimes it is as simple as someone saying, "You've done enough for today." It can be a steady hand at the small of the back, guiding them gently through a crowded space. It can be the sound of someone else's voice reading aloud when their mind is too weary to think. These moments may seem small, but to the strong, they are rare treasures because they do not have to ask for them, because they are given without condition. In truth, the quiet ache for tenderness is not a flaw in strength. It is the heart's way of reminding us that strength is not the absence of need. Strength is carrying on despite the need. And when tenderness finally comes, it does not make the strong weaker. It makes them more whole. The paradox is that those who appear strongest often need tenderness the most because they have gone the longest without it. They have been the fortress for others, the safe place in the storm, the unshakable figure that others lean on. But even fortresses need care. Even the strongest walls crumble if never touched with gentleness. Strength can be loud in its defense, but the ache for tenderness is always quiet. It does not shout, it waits. It lingers in the pause between breaths, in the moments when the strong allow themselves to hope someone might see beyond the armor. And when that hope is met, not with demands, but with open arms, it is a healing unlike any other. So they continue forward, carrying both the unshakable will that others see and the soft yearning they rarely show. Strength keeps them standing, but tenderness, when it finally comes, lets them exhale. And that, perhaps, is the most human truth of all. It is easy to mistake the absence of words for the absence of strength, to believe that those who do not speak are those who have been defeated. But silence has many languages, and one of them is self-preservation. A woman may choose silence not because she has nothing to say, but because she has everything to lose by saying it. She has learned through experience and observation that not every truth will be welcomed, and not every ear will hear without twisting her words into something they were never meant to be. Silence can be a boundary, a line drawn without a raised voice or an argument. It can be the conscious choice to withhold energy from those who have not earned the right to receive it. In this way, silence is not weakness, it is control. It is the decision to step out of a battle where the victory would cost too much, where the opponent has already decided not to understand. In such moments, speaking would be giving away pieces of herself she cannot afford to lose. Some silences are forged in pain. A woman may have tried once to speak her truth only to be ridiculed, ignored, or punished. She remembers the sting of being dismissed and the weariness that comes from defending her own reality. And so she learns. Her peace is more valuable than the satisfaction of proving a point. Her silence becomes a form of armor, light enough to carry, strong enough to protect. Silence also carries wisdom. Not every situation requires a response, and not every injustice can be corrected with words. There are times when speaking too soon would ruin the power of timing, when patience will wound more sharply than confrontation. In these moments, silence is strategy. It holds the tension like a bowstring, waiting for the right release. This kind of silence is not passive. It is active restraint, the holding back of all the words that rush to the mind but never cross the lips. It requires discipline to resist the urge to fill the air with explanations, defenses, or pleas for understanding. It is the quiet confidence of knowing that the truth needs no constant repetition. It will stand on its own, even if no one acknowledges it now. There are also silences born of dignity. When a person has decided that their worth will not be measured by the noise they make, they no longer feel the need to respond to every slight, every misunderstanding, every attempt to provoke them. Instead, they hold themselves with the grace of someone who knows that storms do not chase the wind, they let it pass. Dignified silence refuses to be baited. It lets the other reveal themselves through their own noise while the silent one remains steady. And yet silence is not without its weight. Carrying it can be lonely. It means holding back words that burn to be spoken, swallowing emotions that long to be seen. It means watching moments pass where speaking might have changed the outcome, but choosing instead to protect oneself from the fallout. This is not surrender. It is the careful calculation of risk versus reward. It is the understanding that peace of mind is often worth more than the hollow victory of winning an argument. Silence can also be an offering to oneself. It can be a moment of stillness in a world that demands constant reaction. In choosing silence, a woman gives herself the space to think, to feel, to heal without interference. She creates a private world where no one else's opinions can intrude, where her truth belongs to her alone until she decides to share it. This is a shield not only from others, but from the noise of life itself. There is a saying that the loudest person in the room is often the weakest, because they fear what will be revealed if the noise stops. The strongest, on the other hand, can sit in silence and still command presence. Their silence does not beg to be filled. It stands solid and sure, a quiet reminder that they are not here to be consumed by the demands of others. To mistake such silence for surrender is to misunderstand its purpose. Surrender gives away power. Silence keeps it close. The one who stays silent holds the key to when, how, and if the conversation will continue. They decide if their truth will be spoken in this moment or if it will be kept safe until it can no longer be denied. In the end, silence can be the most powerful language of all. It says, "I will not fight where the battle is not worth my soul. I will not waste my breath where the air is poisoned. I will not give you the satisfaction of seeing me broken." It is a shield that guards the heart, not a flag of defeat. It is a choice to remain whole in a world that tries endlessly to tear pieces away. It is a delicate disguise, one that keeps the heart safe even as it aches in silence. Many women wear pride like fine armor, polished, impenetrable, and steady. They stand tall, voices measured, actions decisive. To the outside world, they appear complete in themselves, untouched by longing. But beneath the polished steel, there is often a yearning that is just as human as it is vulnerable. The desire to be seen, known, and understood without explanation. This hunger is not always loud. It lives in quiet corners, in the pause before they answer a question, in the way their eyes search a face for recognition of something unspoken. It is not the hunger for attention or validation, but for connection. It is the hope that someone, somewhere, will hear the unvoiced language of their soul and respond, not with judgment or advice, but with simple, genuine understanding. Yet pride steps in like a loyal guard. It whispers, "Do not show them how much you want this. Do not let them think you need them to feel whole." Pride has seen what happens when openness is met with indifference, when heartfelt truth is mishandled by careless hands. It has felt the sting of being misunderstood and the shame that sometimes follows. So it builds walls high enough to block out disappointment, even if those same walls keep tenderness from getting in. The paradox is that pride and hunger coexist in an uneasy truce. Pride says, "You are enough as you are. You don't need anyone's understanding." Hunger replies, "Yes, but wouldn't it be beautiful if someone truly knew you?" Pride fears rejection. Hunger longs for intimacy. Pride thrives on self-reliance. Hunger aches for mutual recognition. And so the woman carries both, projecting independence while quietly hoping for someone to read between the lines. For some, this tension has deep roots. They may have grown up in environments where showing need was seen as weakness, where vulnerability was exploited rather than cherished. They learned early that it was safer to appear self-contained than to risk being dismissed. Over time, this self-protection became second nature. Even when surrounded by people who might understand them, they hesitate to lower the guard because the risk still feels too high. But pride, for all its strength, cannot feed the soul. The hunger to be understood is part of being human. It is the desire to belong, to be recognized beyond the roles one plays or the masks one wears. Without it being met, a subtle loneliness can seep in, even in a crowded room. It is the loneliness of being known only in fragments, of having parts of the self remain unseen, because pride will not let them be revealed. When, by rare fortune, they encounter someone who sees through the armor, someone who notices the contradictions, hears the words that are not spoken, and chooses to meet them with patience, something softens. In that rare company, the pride does not vanish, but it steps aside. It allows the hunger to speak, perhaps timidly at first, testing the waters. And when understanding is given freely, without demand, the hunger is fed in a way that no applause or achievement ever could. It is important to know that pride itself is not wrong. It is a necessary shield in a world that can be careless with hearts. But when pride becomes a mask worn at all times, it can suffocate the deeper need for connection. The balance lies in knowing when to let the mask slip, when to trust that the risk of being misunderstood is worth the chance of being truly known. Sometimes the hunger to be understood shows itself in subtle ways. A lingering conversation about something deeply personal, a piece of writing shared with someone special, a sudden openness that feels out of character. These are moments when pride loosens its grip, allowing the possibility of connection to bloom. They may be fleeting, but they are precious, because they remind the soul that it does not have to wander unseen forever. In the end, pride may keep the world from seeing how deeply the hunger runs, but it cannot erase it. The desire to be understood is as natural as the need to breathe. It may be hidden, it may be buried, but it remains, waiting for the day when the right eyes meet theirs and say, without words, I see you, I know you, you are not alone. It is one of the most convincing masks a woman can wear. The gentle curve of her lips, the light in her eyes, the laughter at the right moment. To those around her, she looks steady, present, and capable. But beneath that practiced ease lies a body and spirit carrying more weight than they will ever admit. The exhaustion is not only physical, it is emotional, mental, and sometimes even spiritual. Yet she smiles because the world often expects her to, and because she has learned that showing her weariness invites questions she is too tired to answer. The brave smile is not meant to deceive, it is meant to protect. It shields her from the pity she does not want, the assumptions she cannot correct, and the burden of explaining just how heavy her days have become. Sometimes it is easier to give the world a version of herself that appears unshaken than to risk being treated as fragile or incapable. The smile becomes a silent agreement between her and those who see it. I will not trouble you with my struggle, and you will not ask what lies beneath. The exhaustion she carries is layered. There are the obvious demands, work deadlines, family responsibilities, endless to-do lists, but there is also the quieter, more invisible strain. It is the constant emotional labor of being the one others rely on, the keeper of peace in conflicts, the supporter of dreams that are not her own. It is the late-night thinking, the morning resolve, the steady composure in moments when she feels anything but composed. Over time, this wears on the soul as much as it wears on the body. Still, she smiles, partly because she believes that if she stops, the people who depend on her might lose hope, partly because the smile is her way of keeping control, of deciding what the world is allowed to see, and partly because she knows that in a world where everyone is carrying something heavy, her smile might lighten someone else's load, even if it does nothing to ease her own. But there is a cost to this bravery. Carrying exhaustion in silence can make her feel invisible. She may go for months or even years without anyone asking how she truly is. The people around her might never think to look beyond the surface, assuming that her energy is limitless, her strength unshakable. This invisibility can deepen the fatigue, turning it into something heavier, a quiet ache for someone to notice without being told. The brave smile can also become a habit so ingrained that she forgets what it feels like to put it down. Even in safe spaces, even among those she trusts, she may struggle to let her face tell the truth. Vulnerability, after all, requires energy too, and when exhaustion runs deep, conserving that energy can feel like the only option. Yet beneath the layers of fatigue and performance, there is a longing, not just for rest, but for a kind of rest that comes from being fully seen, the kind where she does not have to pretend, where she can lay her burdens down without fearing that someone will judge her for carrying them in the first place. The kind where she can trade the brave smile for an honest sigh and still feel loved. When she finds such a moment, it is transformative. It may be with a trusted friend, a quiet afternoon alone, or even a stranger whose kindness asks for nothing in return. In that moment, she allows the smile to fade, the shoulders to drop, the breath to deepen. She may not speak of the exhaustion directly, but her whole being feels the relief of not having to perform strength. The truth is, a brave smile can be both a gift and a burden. It can inspire others, ease tension, and protect the self from unnecessary intrusion. But it can also trap her in the role of the eternally strong one, making it harder for her to admit when she needs care. It is a paradox. Her smile says I'm fine even when she is not, and the better she is at convincing others, the less likely she is to receive the understanding she quietly longs for. So she carries on, wearing her brave smile like armor, walking through her days with the exhaustion tucked neatly behind it. Not because she is invincible, but because she has learned how to be resilient in a world that rarely stops to ask what lies beneath the surface. And though the exhaustion may remain, so does the hope that one day someone will look past the smile and see the truth in her eyes, that she has been brave for far too long, and what she needs now is rest. It can flow into a life with a force so gentle that it mends the deepest breaks, washing over old hurts until they are softened, soothed, and made bearable. In its purest form, love feels like warmth after a long winter, like a safe harbor after years adrift. It makes the heart feel seen and valued, turns loneliness into belonging, and teaches the soul that it is worthy of tenderness. When it is good, love does not just heal, it restores what the world has taken. It fills the quiet spaces with laughter, the tired eyes with light, and the weary hands with strength to keep going. But love, even when it begins as a gift, can also carry the sharp edge of pain. It can wound in ways that leave no visible scar, but alter the shape of the heart forever. Sometimes the wound comes not from betrayal or cruelty, but from absence, the slow fading of presence, the conversations that never happen, the touches that become rare. Other times, the wound is carved by misunderstanding, when the person we love most cannot or will not see us as we are. This kind of love hurts quietly. It does not explode. It erodes like a river that wears down stone over years until the shape is unrecognizable. The healing river of love gives freedom. It allows the soul to be its truest self without fear of judgment. In such love, there is room to grow, to stumble, to be imperfect and still be held. Words are kind, actions are consistent, and trust becomes the foundation on which everything else stands. When love is this way, it teaches forgiveness, patience, and the joy of being fully known. It becomes a source of energy that spills into every other part of life, making burdens lighter and futures brighter. Yet the silent wound side of love can be just as powerful. It is the ache that stays after the good moments pass, the fear of losing what we have, or the realization that what once nourished us now leaves us thirsty. Silent wounds form when love becomes one-sided, when effort is no longer matched, or when affection is given only in fragments. The person may still be there in body, but their spirit is elsewhere, leaving us to love the ghost of what once was. The contradiction is that both truths can exist at the same time. Love can be the reason we wake up smiling and the reason we cry ourselves to sleep. It can heal us in the morning and hurt us by nightfall. This duality is what makes love both beautiful and dangerous. Its power to build is matched only by its power to break. For many, the healing river keeps them in the relationship long after the silent wound begins to form. They remember the way love once felt and hope it will return. They hold on to the good days, using them as proof that the bad days are temporary. But sometimes the wound deepens while they wait, and the silence grows heavier until it feels like an unspoken language between them. Even so, love is rarely simple. Sometimes the wound teaches lessons the river never could. It shows where our boundaries are, what we need to feel whole, and how much of ourselves we are willing to give without losing our own center. Silent wounds can lead to self-discovery, pushing us to seek healing within when we cannot find it without. The healing river of love is something we all crave because it affirms our humanity. It tells us that we matter, that we are not alone in the world. The silent wound, though painful, reminds us that we must protect our own hearts, even from those we cherish. The challenge is in learning when to drink from the river and when to tend to the wound, knowing that both may exist in the same place. In the end, love's dual nature is not a flaw, it is a reflection of life itself. We do not grow only through joy, nor are we shaped only by pain. We are formed by both, the gentle waters that carry us forward and the deep cuts that change our shape. Love, in all its complexity, is both the current that moves us and the tide that pulls away, leaving us to stand in the space between healing and hurting, learning to carry them both. Beneath steady smiles and graceful composure lie storms, hungers, and unspoken aches, each guarded not by weakness, but by choice. Yet in every hidden truth lies a testament to endurance, the power to protect the heart, to give without emptying, and to rise again with dignity intact. These unspoken parts are not flaws. They are the soul's architecture, built from battles survived and tenderness longed for. In revealing them, even if only to ourselves, we reclaim not just our truth, but our wholeness.